New Thought Media Network. We are a global broadcast network of positive music, media, and entertainment, inspiring humanity's evolution along the journey of enlightenment and creating a world of love, peace, empowerment, and prosperity for all. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And hello again, dear ones. Reverend Robert with you over here.
Rev Z right here.
And our dear guest, Reverend Dr. Charles Geddes, is with us in the house from Mind Your Own Becoming. We're going to learn more about that a little bit later. Hello, Charles. How are you today?
Hi, I'm absolutely magnificent. Thank you.
Beautiful. Grateful that you're with us. So happy that you're here. Folks, if you wonder what you stumbled into, this is New Thought Today here on the New Thought Media Network. It happens every Tuesday afternoon at 2 o'clock Mountain Time. And my dear friend Rev Z and I get together, have some conversations and some interviews with some dear friends. So we're grateful that you're with us here today as well. Feel free to chat along, chime along, drop a comment in the comment box as you go along. We'd love to hear your comments as the show progresses. All right. Dr. Charles, help everybody out a little bit. Give everybody, now you've been doing ministry a long time, and I don't want to say that you've been around for a while, because you've been doing ministry almost as long as I've been on the planet, but I'm a youngster in this thing. So give us the couple-minute rundown on who you are, what's important, what do people need to know who you are and to get started in this conversation with us.
Yeah, I've been around a while and 55 years worth of ministry, or what has been leading me to always go deeper in my own journey and realize the importance of my own growth is the most vital of all, and that how sacred that is to hold to that. And the journey that we have individually, collectively, is all about the world that we're creating individually and collectively in the world consciousness. And more vital than ever is the remembrance of that. And all I know is that when I came into New Thought teachings, into at that point in time, science of mind, religious science, that in high school I had studied the Eastern teachings and philosophies in Edward Casey, the works of Edward Casey, and that reigned true for me. I was not aligned to any definitive church because it never made sense that when I went, I came out feeling worse. So it's like something's not residing here in my soul. And then through a miraculous journey of divine intention and connection, I was brought into the Science of Mind teachings by a mystic teacher. And had it not been a mystic teacher, I don't know that I would have stuck around. But what was profound was the realization and connection we all have to spirit. And that when we draw upon that and from that, we are led through whatever it is that we face in this journey, which we've chosen for our evolution and soul growth, and to imprint heart prints upon the planet. So all I can tell you about the sum total of my work is that it's covered a great deal. And, you know, serving on the board of that before Centers for Spiritual Living was united as one, serving on the board, the Big Sky Retreat that was a part of my life for 48 years up until this past year. Um, and serving wherever I was led to the deepest that I knew. And that's all I can tell anyone: service, love, devotion to what is in your heart, to make a thimble full of difference in this life, so that other hearts, when they think of you, they feel a warmth and love.
Wow. Yeah. That's that's a great mantra there. Service, love, and devotion. Because I think through those, everything else falls into place. And I take my hat off to you for the longevity and the path that you cut for like myself and Robert to just be inspired and you know knowing that I can only imagine the ups and downs you've come up against, but knowing that you still traveling the road is a great inspiration.
Well,
Thank you. What I
I
call the splats. I've had some splats along the journey, and it's taken a while to pull myself up again. But yeah, that rang very true.
you just struck something for me. We shall not be judged by our splats
Yes.
because we all have them. I I
Mhm.
don't think you travel the road of human consciousness. And
Mm.
I like to think of that in some ways more of what we're all really about is we're working in the field of human consciousness, in human self-development. There is a very spiritual aspect to it. And my education, and I know with Z, and I believe from our conversations together with you, Dr. Charles, over time, we all grow into maybe a little more specialized of an area or a little more esoteric of an area or a unique area that part of this philosophy is that we continue to grow and we continue to change and we continue to become something different or something new. And oftentimes that requires letting go of something that maybe we've loved for a very long time. And yet we play the game. We've been around long enough to be able to see ahead of time. It's coming to an end, and it's best to move into that next great. And I'm going to use the word again because that's what we're talking about here today. That next great becoming in our lives.
Mhm.
So after all the work you've done, and when most most ministers like to do a rewirement or even a retirement, if I dare say that, you chose to the rewirement group or route and started Mind Your Own Becoming, which is not a church, which is not a ministry, which is not a special focus, which is not any of that, but an independent LLC, I believe, organization, or maybe it's a nonprofit. I forget at the moment, but an independent
Nonprofit.
organization that has a bit different of a mission and a vision, and perhaps. And so, tell us some more about that. Get us up to speed with Mind Your Own Becoming.
I'll bring you in currency to the fullest that I can in regards to that. We are a nonprofit. We are a nonprofit forum for public education and awareness, and above all, to bring people together on the issues confronting us of our times. And I'm going to quote a little bit from a blog that I wrote recently that was updating after we're in our 5th year of Mind Your Own Becoming. And I want to share just a little bit from it because it really defines uh, where I'm at in the currency. And we're entering our 5th year, and this journey began with the impact of COVID in 2020 and the ongoing injustice and brutality that was brought to our attention, not singularly through uh, the murder of George Floyd, but the the brutality that was ongoing in the ways and manners that we wanted to keep our heads turned the other way about. And finally, we
Mhm.
couldn't do that. And I wanted to create something out of that when I realized one thing, that I had completed my service in the paradigm structure of church. And I wanted to create something that would bring people together, that were willing to connect together and have honest talks, and that we would bring the Black, brown community, indigenous, LGBTQ plus community, that we would hear stories from a heartfelt place and come together for that. And that is still the heart and the core of what Mind Your Own Becoming is about. But there's two things. First, the willingness to know that what you said earlier in the programming and we shared, it is all about your becoming, and becoming more conscious and aware of what you need to let go of what you need to free, of what you need to do the inner soul work to heal and clear, to deal with the pain and the grief that we've held, prejudices, conscious and unconscious, that we've held onto and haven't realized, and do that inner work. That's the first and foremost. So education in that regards, but then opening to the broader scope of coming into dialogue on levels that are deep and personal and real and honest and truthful. And you know, I sum things up because I've learned so much in these past 4 years, and I've absorbed new awareness. And this is my quote from my blog. And all I've absorbed in new awareness in these past 4 years of MYOB, I choose to not define myself by a pronoun, although I celebrate the right we have to. We have to do that. Oh my God. And, two spirited pretty much defines me. But the bottom line, it's not about, I'm Charles. Know me as Charles. Know me as that soul that I am. And that I'm stepping back from defining myself, and again, over the years here, defining myself politically, extremes on either side. I want to look at things from as independent and broad a scope as I can, so that we look at what brings us where we can create bridges and communicate and reach out for that purpose. And, my personal charge is continue to deepen Charles and be accountable for when he's made mistakes in judgment or awareness, or has slipped and like, oh God, I need to take a look at this, don't I? But above all, that the end result is that I come back more loving for myself and for others. I return more loving for myself and for others. And that's what Mind Your Own Becoming is about. That if we all can work on that, we can see a different world for the future generations, and wake up, that we should be acknowledging that we need to be aware of what we're bringing every day vibrationally, and think of 7 generations ahead as the indigenous community does, that we think ahead of the imprint and impact of our words, deeds, and actions. Wow, that's it.
That's a drum roll. That's a drum roll. Yeah. And one thing that hit me when you were saying that, again, in this whole idea of becoming, I lived in Australia for a couple of years, and the Aborigines, they take on different names, several different names as they go through their life, because they understand
Ah,
that, I may have been called X at this point, and now I'm called R or Y or whatever the name that, and the name is derived from the moment, right? And
mm,
it's so it was, when I first found out about it, it was so moving, because I am not the person I was when I was 6 years old. And when someone calls me by the name that I was called at 6 years old, it hits certain resonance within me, and I may start acting like a 6-year-old. And so I love that whole idea of becoming, because there's an energy with the names and everything surrounding the name, and this idea of becoming is what life's all about. I mean, that in fact, I study the ancient Egyptian teachings, and they have incorrectly called the book of the dead. The book of the dead is really the book of coming forth by day, the process of becoming, which is just exactly in line with what you're saying. So I love it.
Wow, thank you. That's beautiful.
You remind me of a story that I just have to tell because it was many years ago, and it was probably about the time that we first met, Charles. I was in Salt Lake City, and in the very early years, we would travel to the Big Sky Retreat, and in a class, I had been given a nickname by my mother when I was young, probably around 6 or something like that. And I had created an identity around that, right? And by the time I got to New Thought and religious science and started taking classes, it rapidly woke up to the fact that no longer serves me. And that's not really who I am. And that's not really who I want to bring forward into this next chapter of my life. And it's not. So it's not who I want to become. And it was at that point that I took back my given name of Robert and felt that adequately expressed who I had come onto this planet to be, and that my parents got it right in this occasion, surprise, surprise. And we got to a point where the transition wasn't as tough for me as it was for other people, and other people would continually call me by my old name. Now, flash forward 20 years, and that's what we're experiencing today in the trans world, is people blatantly calling folks by what's known as their dead name and not honoring who people want to be called by. It. I just happen to be wanted to be called by a pretty traditional name. Well, there was one gentleman who just loved to try to push my buttons and call me by that name. And I just decided that one day, every time he did it, I would just look at him and go, Who are you looking for? I don't know who that guy is. And he got a little bummed out, after a few tries. He realized what I was doing. And we had a class, and we had someone who was a guest, and he tried to pull this stunt, and I looked at him and said, Who? And turned my back. And as I did, he gave me what many refer to as the one finger salute. Also called the bird. Maybe some of you know it.
Yeah.
And, however, this bird is left hanging right in the face of this woman who's a guest to our class and a practitioner, by the way. And she is just in absolute shock and stun that this guy would flip me off in a science of mind class. And the minister, being the good guy he was, just leaned back and smiled and went, look, the international symbol of oneness. And we were all able to laugh about it.
Yeah,
We were all able to
great.
just laugh that off and continue on with class. So just a little detour for you there, folks, in the story today. We just had to get that out there. So,
Yes.
So where were we? We were becoming, right? We were in this process of becoming more. And Charles, I find it unique that there aren't a lot of people I know that started a new work of some sort, however we want to label it, by whatever name we give it. 2020 wasn't an easy year to start a new organization, to launch into a new community. And I'm wondering, what are some of maybe perhaps the unique challenges? What are some of the experiences you faced in this organization over the past 5 years that you had never had to face in all your years of work with the public and with people and with consciousness? And what's been really different about this one?
that it's not a church,
Mm.
and that I have to redefine it in regards to um, the concept of ministry, and that um, at the same time, I have the 5 principles of mind your own becoming, and those were essential in the creation of it, because the inquiry for me was, Charles, what have you gained in all your, at that point, 50 years of ministry, that you feel are the most important things to live by, and that they are principles. And um, it was so vital that I take a look at that. And I'm going to share, not going to give background details on everything, but just the 5 principles as they're stated. And they were free others to be where they are, not where you want them to be. And that's also coming to a place recently of free yourself to be where you are, not where you think you should be, and be valuing exactly where you are in the moment. And then 2, be aware of what is yours to carry and what is yours to set free. Be conscious of what is yours to set free so that you can be aware of what is yours to move forward with. And 3, remember, forgiveness is an ongoing journey of freedom, freedom for you. And 4, never give up, but be willing to step back. Be willing to step back and realign to your heart and your passion. And finally, be aware there's only 2 choices in life, better or bitter. Okay, those were the crux of what I felt are to live from and by. And what I wanted to bring into the forum of what we would have. And you're asking what's the most challenging thing? To grow something that requires people to be extraordinarily uncomfortable.
Mm.
The whole idea of church was pretty much to, on Sunday, inspire, have great music, do everything that people are walking out wagging their tail. And one of the first things on Mind Your Own Becoming is that we're welcoming you here to be very uncomfortable. So
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's a little different. And the challenge, in all honesty, though I can laugh about that, is that
Hmm.
that's not easy, because looking to get a broader audience that's willing to look at and for a moment
Yeah.
approach a 180-degree different point of view from what they are comfortable with, and maybe listen. What's the root of that? Can we understand the root of that view so that maybe we can see a better way to get along together? And oneness is an essential component of minding your own becoming. We're all in this together. We can't escape it. And as uncomfortable as that may be in our world, the only way we shall see a world with a future is remembering we're in this together. We'll destroy it or we'll come together, that future generations wake up, that we really belong, all of us.
Yeah. That, I mean, and that's a message I think now that rings true more than ever. Um, as we begin to unfold this uh new year, new environment, and the ability, as you said first, to be of service. I think, the opportunity to be of open-hearted service at any kind of level, whether it's a kind word or financial service,
Well,
is going to be paramount as we try to find our footing on this new ground we're standing on.
yes, absolutely. Beautifully stated.
Mm-hmm. To a point that Charles was making, and I think it's been one of the classic discussion debates in New Thought.
Hmm.
Are we right? The line of we're here to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comfortable. And I've had people that say, no, we can't, you can't look at it from that perspective. And we're not here to afflict it. And others that are like, oh no, that's absolutely what I have to do. And we can look at it from both sides of that experience. But ultimately, I was in a discussion earlier today, and I said something that if I hadn't have found New Thought, I probably would have ended up a Buddhist.
Mm-hmm.
And the first tenet there is that we have to understand suffering is real. Suffering exists. The that which gets in our way, that which holds us back, that which we rail against, is oftentimes the great teacher to bring us forward to something. And now more than ever, I think we need people and organizations to say, we're not out here teaching New Thought anymore. We're out here teaching how to live. It just so happens that it's informed by New Thought. Right? It just so happens that it's in alignment with New Thought. But some people might mistake it for Buddhism, and some people might mistake it for something else. But for a long time, we've taught that we don't want to admit the suffering. We don't want to even recognize that the suffering exists. We want to be all love and light and everything's beauty all right. And that has its place, right? My personal thing this year is raising the vibe in 2025. Yeah, I want to put as much positive vibration into the world as I possibly can, but that doesn't mean that I positively vibrate myself all over a school shooting or some of the atrocities that are happening in the realm of human rights currently at the hands of my own government.
Yeah. And it's interesting,
recently,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Charles.
Okay. I just this past year I went into some deep therapy for myself for the first time in all my life on a level beyond anything that I had experienced before. And the therapy model, and you can just look it up on anyone listening, EMDR, and it's really an intense therapeutic process that ultimately is bringing out the issues in your tissues that you have stored, and they are still there on deep levels, deeper than you know. And I've come through, and not every session is intense and overwhelming, but I've come through 3 or 4 that were beyond defining as to the overwhelm of grief and sadness and pain that I had not freed and let go of. And that I could finally come to a statement that some of the things in my life that I judged so horribly against me, that I could look at it and say, but it wasn't my fault. And that it was true. I mean, I'm accountable, like in 12 steps, for things that I need to own and recognize and make amends for. But so much of us carry guilt on dark nights or moments or times. And in this case, it was having been attacked and beaten and feeling that, wow, if only I hadn't this, I hadn't that, it wouldn't have happened. And I was able to utter for the first time, it wasn't my fault. In all the counsel that I gave other people, hey, but don't you know it wasn't? I could never say that about Charles. And I can't tell you how liberating that was, how huge. And we all carry such pain, and we can't pretend it's not there. We need our grief to be felt. And the grief that's going on in the world collectively is beyond defining. There are times that I just step back and let myself weep over it because it's inside me. But in the meantime, what's the ultimate cure, the ultimate reality that I know, and the only thing I know? Love is the only resolution, is the only way to evolve, is the only way to heal. That's all I know. I must come back to that my soul and my purpose is here for loving and caring, first of all, for this man profoundly and deeply, and letting go of judgment on him, and then opening to the same reality for everyone I come across.
Beautiful. Thank you, sir. Love is the answer. And we're going to explore that answer in the next segment, folks. However, we do need to take a quick break, let Charles have a sip of water, let us have a sip of water, and let you learn a little bit more about some of what's happening around the New Thought Media Network. So please stay with us, stay tuned. We're going to be right back after these messages.
New Thought Media Network proudly presents the 2025 Season for Nonviolence 64-day meditation series, January 30th through April 4th. New meditations published daily at 6 a.m. Eastern Time on our YouTube channel. Join us as we carry the vision of a world that works for all. Only on New Thought Media Network. Learn more at www.ntmedia.org.
Join our celebration of Black History Month. Only on New Thought Media Network. New videos every day at 6 a.m. Eastern Time, or watch anytime on our YouTube channel. 28 unique Black History moments. Every day in February. Only on New Thought Media Network.
And we're back with more of New Thought today here on the New Thought Media Network. Thanks for being with us on a Tuesday afternoon, folks. And if you're watching this on at another time, maybe even from another dimension, thank you. And please feel free to like, share, and subscribe. Let your friends and family know what we're doing here. So, and today on New Thought Today, we've got Reverend Dr. Chalres Geddes with us. Longtime metaphysician, longtime New Thoughter, longtime mentor, inspiration. The list could go on and on and on. I don't know if I've ever said this, Charles, but when I was a young whippersnapper in the New Thought movement, you were already a statesman that was so gracious and so open-hearted and so kind to support some crazy ideas that I had. And we're not going to talk about those today. Don't worry. We're not drudging up all that stuff. But we had some fun and creative, evenings at the Big Sky Retreat. So it's a pleasure having you back. And right before the break, you were getting into that deep place that I love so much. And I think it is so very true that now more than ever, not only what the world needs is love, but my sense is New Thoughters all over the planet need an avenue through which to express that love, and need to find ways to bring that love into the world a little bit more, and in perhaps a more powerful and profound way. And what I'd love to ask is learn a little bit more of your vision, your perspective, your sight. What do you see it as where we're going in the New Thought movement? What's beneficial for the movement and the people that are a part of it?
As with all of us in our soul journey, it's redefining and the recognition that everything comes to shift and change and evolve for new perspectives. That includes our personal lives. And in every decade of my life, I've lived lifetimes. And in the journey and history of New Thought, there are uh, it's incredible where we have come from, and where we are. And the dream of Ernest Holmes, that this teaching or philosophy, however we're defining it, be worldwide. It actually is. It's under many names now, but it actually is. And it was never new in the first place. Something really important that the mystics of ancient time and the great masters that have walked the earth were teaching this. We're conveying this. We're seeking to, the great master teacher Jesus. Hey, hey, folks, the things I'm doing, I wish you would get. You can do also, and even greater. Uh, but no, we did not take that in. It was him on
Right,
that
right.
highest pedestal of unreachableness, and in the meantime, it's all in us. And you mentioned a word earlier in the first segment, Robert, that um, the importance of walking in kindness. And if we want to look at the accountability we all have, it's to every day walk as fully in that kindness as we can, wherever we are, wherever we're walking, wherever we're at. So far as New Thought and church paradigms, I believe that they have to be more and more community involved and evolving in ways that are not about the church structure that we've known, because in New Thought it doesn't work anymore. And to me, that's a statement that I feel from my observance. But that what can work is that the more we reach out to be and create bridges, you know, no, Mind Your Own Becoming is not a church, but I see it as a forum, and exploring new forums of approach where you come together in groups for healthy, meaningful dialogue that gives people on a deeper level, and
Mhm.
genuinely that's what it's about. And as diverse, oh my God, the words diversity, um, uh, equity, inclusivity, and that they're now being wanting shutting down the the very reality of that as the focus of what we're here as a nation for. Can we talk about that? Can we talk about the overwhelm and the pain of taking that in? Excuse me. And so
Mhm.
you can make people uncomfortable, but you can bring them into dialogue that they awaken. And that's what I've wanted to do with my becoming. I need to stretch more than ever media wise myself. And that's what I'm wanting to do. So the passion that I felt in creating this, and that we can actually see more groups wanting to create what we're doing and having great purpose from doing it.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean the idea, Robert knows one of my foundational principles is nature and science as the perfect scripture to guide us. And I mean that the lesson that I get from that of as you were just saying, diversity and inclusion and oneness, and it's raising its head right now when we look at just the weather conditions we've experienced and the national natural disasters that are occurring, that something is not working together. We will always have those things. It will always be cold. It will always be fires. There will always be floods. But when they're working in a seasonal cycle, if you will, for lack of a better way to say it, as it becomes, right? It as Robert was saying, the sadness or the grief or the suffering, however you want to term it, will always be there. But when you understand the cycle and the integratedness of it all, it's fertilizer for the becoming. It's ways of going deeper in understanding, and not something to be pointed out as a fault or as a crutch or inadequacy. And that's how it's being used. And so I agree. This whole idea of new thought now has to become new action. And
New
we need to
actions.
come up with a
Yes.
new action movement.
Yeah, I like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. New actions. A new approach. Yeah.
A new
Yes.
approach. Yeah. Because the old model we know has been breaking down, and
Mhm.
it can be reinvented. There is a new opportunity for a new approach, but I like this. I want to stay with our ideas here on some DEI, because Z, you brought it to me, and we've been talking about the belonging piece to add on to that, and we can
Mhm.
easily look at nature, that all of those things are absolutely vital for there to be life. In
Yeah.
the natural world, diversity, equity, inclusion, they're all part of it, and somehow there is a unique balance that occurs, and when it's out of whack, you notice. It's a hostile environment, and there are hostile
Yes.
environments out there, and now more than ever, I believe
Mhm.
a vast majority of people on this planet are being called to stand up and declare and live into what they truly value. And right now, there are a group of people in charge that do not value that diversity, that equity, that inclusion, that sense of belonging, that what has been created. And more than ever, it is up to us to not give that up, to stand behind what we really, really, really value, and to non-violently argue against those limiting beliefs and argue on behalf of a grander vision, and a way forward to do it. Right? That's the important part. Is we're all going to say it.
Yeah.
Get our feet on the ground, get our hands a little dirty, maybe use our voices a little louder than we do normally, maybe push a little harder in some places than we do normally, but we have to be the answer, not the bystanders.
Yes. Um,
And that's why
and
I
why I'll
love I
be,
love your approach to Charles, on mind your own becoming. That says it all.
the values and intentions we have, they're on our website, but awareness, forgiveness, personal and collective, gratitude and love, non-judgmental, collective evolution, inclusivity, diversity, and leading to equality, and all, regardless of race, religion, color, culture, sexual orientation, age, ability, gender identity. It doesn't matter. We're all in this together. Uh, and,
Yeah.
humankind can be, can be the most brutal and beyond defining, violent, and horrible of any species. And it's overwhelming to absorb historically the truth of that, and more often than not, religion behind that. But it can also be the most profoundly, individually, collectively beautiful, creative, overwhelmingly moving energies and creations and power beyond defining that we realize. speaking of disasters, we come together in disaster. Why must it be disaster that brings us together? And it's not the question of what are you aligned to? What color is your skin? Are you gay? Are you this? Are you that? It's how can we be there for each other? Isn't
Yeah.
that what we want to awaken to in our becoming for the future and generations ahead?
You
I
bring
would
us to
say
that.
yes.
I would absolutely say yes. Yeah, you bring us to that deeper and deeper contemplations that we get a chance to look at humanity, at the reality of life. And yes, I would love to see us operating and working together so much more than when there is a disaster. And I want to find the models that point us in the right direction as well. And so sometimes it is in the disaster that we get those opportunities to see where homes were saved because people didn't just run away, and property was saved because people had invested time over the past decade in educating themselves and preparing themselves for just such an experience. So it's even in the disaster, there is that blossom of opportunity to say, okay, and how am I better prepared? Now we're facing a massive disaster right now in a way that's much bigger than much bigger than the fires in LA or the remnants of Helene in North Carolina. And we have to be willing to say, okay, there too, we can be a prophetic voice. There too, we can be a model on how not to fall into the traps and how not to fall into argument and violence, but to stay true to our principles, our values, and become that next version of ourselves. It's a pretty interesting time.
Yeah.
It's awakening.
Yes, it
It
is.
is awakening that we can't stay in our comfort zones. And that doesn't mean that we don't have a right to have comfort in our homes. That should be a sense of sanctuary that you create that is sacred to you and is meaningful in every way. But that, wherever I walk, I want to be at home. Wherever I go, I want to be at home because I dwell in this body called Charles. And in this body, I have this temporary vessel that's aligned to planet Earth. But on the higher level, I have a soul that's aligned to the galaxies. That's where I came from. And all I know is when I remember that in my morning walks in nature in the mountains, that I love and feed my soul, no matter how cold. that, no matter how cold, that I see around me a stillness and silence that reminds me, be still and know I am God. Be still and know I am that I'm observing. Ernest Holmes said, what you're looking for, you're looking with. And I am that very thing. Let me let me leave this vessel as a body and be lifted up as a soul, having done the best I knew to live from forgiveness and love so that I can feel I've contributed to oneness for all of us in some way. Tiny, but if all of us do it, tiny becomes pretty magnificently large.
Yes.
There's that saying that says, many hands make light work. So if we got many hands, it'll be light work for us to get all this done. If we got a small number of hands, then it gets heavy.
Yeah, exactly. That's perfectly stated. Yeah.
And that to me is that reminder, we do have many hands.
Yeah.
There are really many, many, many hands. And I want to, before we run out of time here, Charles, I definitely want to applaud what you've been doing, because again, it's not a church model. It's not a traditional approach to, well, I can't say traditional, because I don't think there is a tradition in how you share the New Thought message and how you share this New Thought philosophy. And every one of us is on some cutting edge of how we do that. And you're doing that in a really, really unique way, and I don't want to say in response to the pandemic, but kind of in reflection of the pandemic. That, right, your this work, this organization, conceived, perceived, birthed, emerged, all in an environment that no one on planet Earth can remember or cognize or had any understanding of. And to still be here, that's a pretty big accomplishment, in my opinion. So kudos to you, sir.
Bless you. Thank you, Robert. Thank you both. Thank you so much.
Folks, we're not done yet, though. We're going to take a quick break and say thank you to our organizational sponsors and individual donors. But we got a little bit more coming up with Reverend Charles right after this. Please don't go away. Stay tuned. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network, positively inspiring. Yes. Thank you to all of our organizational sponsors and individual donors. It's thanks to folks like you that help us take this New Thought message out into the world and make a difference in the organizations that we serve. Please consider supporting what we're doing here at the network financially. Head on over to our website, ntmedia.org/donate. Click on that monthly recurring donation button and make it a regular donation. We'd most appreciate it. All right, back to wrapping this up here today on New Thought Today with the New Thought Media Network. Our guest has been Reverend Dr. Charles Geddes with Mind Your Own Becoming. Charles, anything that we have forgotten to mention, or how do people stay in touch with you? What how do we want people to engage with you? Give us the rundown.
Thank you. And I just remembered that anyone that would like to check on the origin and how Mind Your Own Becoming came together, I created a booklet that's available on Amazon, and it's called Mind Your Own Becoming, Love Wins. Mind Your Own Becoming, Love Wins on Amazon. And you can check our website out, which is MYOB Incorporated, spell the word out completely, incorporated.org. And subscribe to our weekly e-blast and information of who's coming on the programming. We've got great programming coming up, and one of the focuses soon will be on mental illness, which is really mental health, which is really going to be wonderful. But bottom line, I want to, this is in my little booklet, Mind Your Own Becoming. And if you want to reach me, oh my gosh, just Charles G 22020 at outlook.com. But that information is available on the website also. So just to go there. But I want to read this. This is at the close of my booklet, and it feels like a good closure from my heart. A prayer centering, beloved presence. Let me be aware of the story I hold as it becomes my reality to unfold. Let the story be about the victor in me, as this is what I choose to be. Let what I carry from yesterday be life affirming today. Let my words and deeds and actions bear the depth of my compassion and care. Let me be mindful of the power of forgiving that in truth is about my own triumphant living. Let my story be of inspiration, of ongoing personal transformation. Let me glorify that presence that created all to in its eternal essence. Let my story be reawakening to the reality my story matters in all that is yet to be. As one by one we evolve Earth's history, let me stay reawake today to the story I create.
Amen.
That's it.
Beautiful, Charles. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, folks, we normally do a final thought here today, but I think that suffice. I think that should suffice. That nothing more need be shared for this conversation to be complete in my heart and in my mind. So thank you, Charles, for being with us. Will you come back and visit again sometime?
I would love to.
Okay. We're going to make sure we get you back on for another conversation in the near future. Everyone else, thank you for joining us today. Z, good seeing you, my friend. We'll chat soon.
Yeah, Z.
Chat soon.
Until next time, folks, thank you for being a part of what we're doing. We look forward to seeing you again real soon. Until then, we wish you peace and richest blessings. Bye now.
Take care.